What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs. Kong news and updates. Look, I'll be honest, I don't know when I'm releasing this video. Am I releasing it near-ish to the anniversary of Godzilla vs. Kong? Which is crazy, by the way, that movie is 2 years old. That hurts a lot. Ugh. Don't like how old that movie is, but happy anniversary to Godzilla vs. Kong. This probably is coming out after that because I've got a different video planned for that. But it's time to talk about yet another wave. This is like my 10th video talking about stuff like this. This is the biggest one yet. Another massive wave of changes they made to the film, different cuts, different deleted scenes, a whole bunch of stuff that got left on the cutting room floor. So much to cover in this video that would have dramatically changed the story of the film. I have a lot of fun doing these videos for a couple reasons. I know it might be getting old because I've done like 5 of them at this point, but at some point I plan on taking all of that stuff, all of the different stuff I've talked about, and cramming it into one like hour-and-a-half long video where we go through everything that was supposed to be in Godzilla vs. Kong that wasn't. I have fun doing it for a couple reasons. Number one, I think it's very entertaining how upset people get about it. Like, people get really cranky about all of the changes that have been made, and they want the other stuff. They think it's so much better, and a lot of the time it is kind of better. Although I respect entirely what Wingard wanted to do, and I'm totally on his side for what he was going for with Godzilla vs. Kong. I think he made the right call. That doesn't mean that I don't think that a lot of these ideas are a little more interesting. Another reason I really enjoy this, and this is actually the real primary reason I enjoy it, is because I love filmmaking and I love learning about the process of filmmaking, and I love learning how things change and evolve over time. So for me, it's always exciting to take a deep dive into how things have changed over time. Before I get into the video, I want to get a little somber for a moment and give a moment of gratitude to Lance Reddick, who passed away recently. As far as when I'm recording this video, it has not even been a week since he passed away, but I wanted to honor him for a moment. He, of course, was incredibly important to the John Wick franchise. He plays the concierge in those movies, and he is no stranger to the Godzilla franchise either, making his first uncredited appearance in Godzilla 1998 as an unknown soldier on the bridge at the end of the film. And of course, he had a featured role in Godzilla vs. Kong, or what was supposed to be a featured role. He plays the new director of Monarch, who shows up for the Hong Kong sequence of Godzilla vs. Kong. In this video, we are going to be talking about him because there was a lot of changes made to his character, and he was originally going to be a lot more prevalent in the movie, and so I wanted to mention that. I think it's really unfortunate that they cut his screen time so much in Godzilla vs. Kong because he's a great actor. I'm sure he could have done great stuff with this role, and I think it's really unfortunate that they didn't bring him back for the next one. At least as far as I'm aware, he has no involvement in Godzilla and Kong, so it's a bummer. But let's jump into what we've got here because there's a lot to go through. KDM compiled a bunch of info on Godzilla vs. Kong. So there's just a crazy amount of deleted changes and alterations made to Godzilla vs. Kong that KDM compiled into one place. And I'm going to run through them as fast as possible. I'm not really going to spend a ton of time giving my thoughts on all of it just because there's way too much to go through in this video. So let's begin our speed run through a large set of changes made to Godzilla vs. Kong. Some for the better for sure, and some no. These would have been better. They should have kept the original stuff in some cases. Alright, jumping into it. These details come from the original Godzilla vs. Kong script that Wingard was involved with. So of course there was a draft of Godzilla vs. Kong script that got passed around to different people, including Michael Dougherty at one point before landing in the hands of Adam Wingard. A lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about here was from Wingard's original script when he took it and made it his own. However, that being said, Wingard was the one leading all of the changes to come. The studio had no interference or involvement with making these changes. These were Wingard himself. As Wingard has been on record stating, as I've talked about in previous videos, the studio was willing to let him have the runtime he wanted, but he wanted the movie to be under 2 hours. It was Adam Wingard who decided that Godzilla vs. Kong should be under 2 hours, and it was Adam Wingard who decided that the movie should be what he considers dense entertainment, which is as much plot as fast as possible. Before we hear any release the Wingard cut stuff, there is no Wingard cut. Wingard made the cuts himself. He is the one who did this. All right, Nathan Lind originally spent most of the movie trying to keep the orca away from Maya Simmons. That already, what? The orca, which should be involved in Godzilla vs. Kong. Of course, you can kind of see that the remnants of it are left over with Mechagodzilla's eye pulse. That's kind of an orca signal that's sending out canonically. Oh my god, it just feels weird to have the orca completely dropped after Godzilla King of the Monsters and not really touched on, and here we see that this was supposed to be building on and expanding the ideas of the previous movie. Lind was originally going to be keeping the orca away from Maya Simmons, which would have made her a more active antagonist. It would have given her more to do, more screen time, and more than just kind of looking shocked like she does in the movie. A deleted scene where, as I've been pronouncing her name Xia Zhang, because that's how it's spelled, her name is actually more or less, I'm going to say it wrong, but it was more or less pronounced Zhang Ziyi. Anyways, a deleted scene where Chang Ziyi entered a secret entrance in Shanghai to watch Mothra's egg hatch was planned as a post-credit scene for this movie. Now, this was not an original idea. This was originally the planned post-credit scene for Godzilla King of the Monsters and was supposed to be set in Japan, where Dr. Ling and Dr. Chen meet up, and you also see Dr. Ling's children, the two twins, and they watch Mothra's egg hatch together while the two children sing Mothra's theme song. That was changed for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and here we see it was going to be a recycled idea for Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm incredibly disappointed that they changed that. That would have been great. Jessica Henwick was originally going to play a reporter who was going to have a lot of involvement with Zhang Ziyi's character. We don't know if it was going to be Dr. Ling or Dr. Chen, but I would assume it was going to be Dr. Chen based on the way King of the Monsters went. There was a character named Swansburg who was a gas station attendant in a scene with Millie Bobby Brown and Julian Dennison that was cut out. Filming of this was spotted, and we have talked about it on the channel before. A major character in this movie that was completely cut out was a character named Hayworth, who was an assassin working with Apex, who was originally going to be the one to kill Walter Simmons. Hey, how's it going? Name's D-Man from editing. Hayworth is actually in the movie. I don't know if he shows up many other places, but I just rewatched the film and I noticed him when he actually lets Walter Simmons onto the helicopter. So he does show up in the movie. It's at the very start of the film when Apex is being attacked, and I don't know if he's in the background of any other shots, but technically he still does have a couple seconds of screen time. He is there with Walter Simmons. Pretty cool. He was also originally going to chase Madison and Josh around, and they would have to go on the run to escape him. Additionally, Hayworth was going to be in a bar fight with Bernie in that scene we have seen in the movie where Bernie, Madison, and Josh all meet up in the Chinese bar. Originally, Hayworth was going to kill Walter Simmons under the order of Ren Serizawa, who was going to be revealed as the movie's true big bad villain. Gia and Andrews were originally going to be trapped in a flooding elevator during the Tasman Sea sequence. Lance Reddick was supposed to have a lot more to do here, including watch Godzilla through binoculars, which sounds like a very Serizawa thing to do. A conference scene with Lind and Mark Russell was cut out. Oh, that's a shame. I would have loved to see those two characters interact. They feel so disconnected in the movie. It would have been nice to see those two have some screen time together. That makes me sad. It's been a while since I took these notes, so I'm kind of reliving them with you guys. I don't really remember all of this stuff, so when I'm saying it, I'm kind of reliving it for the first time again. The Orca Z was what originally led the Titans, plural, into the Hollow Earth, so after the events of Godzilla King of the Monsters, and was the original reason why there were no other Titans in Godzilla vs. Kong. It was the thing keeping all of the Titans at bay. That was a great idea. I can't believe they changed it. Godzilla doing a big growl when he's in the Hollow Earth is the stupidest thing. I hated it in Godzilla Dominion. I thought it was really cheesy. Also, really? Godzilla's roar can travel the whole freaking world? I can believe that Ghidorah's can because he's an alien and he comes from a different planet and that's kind of his gig. But Godzilla, I don't know. I thought it was stupid, and I think it's stupid that Godzilla can just yell, go back to sleep, and all the Titans do it. I think it'd be more interesting if the Orca was implemented in that way. Sorry, Godzilla. I know that a lot of Godzilla fans probably just got annoyed at what I just said, but you're a fictional character and you didn't take offense to it. Only they did. Unfortunately, storyboard and script changes were happening every single day on set, leading to the actors never really knowing what the movie they were making was going to look like. A lot of people will complain and be like, oh my god, that's so horrible. Oh, this movie is so trash. A lot of movies are like that. Like a lot of movies, more movies than you'd think are like that. To run off just a few recent examples, Spider-Man No Way Home, The Flash, Aquaman 2, or to get into bigger, broader cinema type movies, Apocalypse Now is an example of a movie that they didn't even know what the movie was when they went out to shoot that thing. They just kind of found it on the day. Films like Iron Man, the very first Iron Man, also fall into this category of they didn't know what the movie was. They had a broad story, but they didn't know what each scene was going to look like until the day before. So great movies and not so great of movies have been made using these methods. It happens all the time. Now we have some extra info from KDM. Lynn's original backstory was that his fiancée died on an expedition to Hollow Earth from Skull Island, leading him down a deep dark path where he winds up as a depressed drunk in dive bars. We have seen some footage of this, and we'll talk about in a little bit. Alexander Skarsgard has gone into detail on this in interviews, but some of these ideas were carried over into the Godzilla vs. Kong novelization. For instance, the novelization begins with a big mission on Skull Island where Lynn's brother goes to the Hollow Earth and dies. Godzilla's attacks were originally motivated by the use of the Orca Z, which Apex was using as a way to turn humanity against him. The device was operated by Maya Simmons and was what caused Godzilla's aggression to be so high. The Orca Z was used to bring Godzilla to the Tasman Sea. I like Godzilla doing it under his own agency. I think Godzilla vs. Kong actually does this one right. And by turning the ships off to play dead, it depowered the Orca Z, making Godzilla leave. Now that one actually does make a little more sense. Godzilla does kind of come off as an idiot in Godzilla vs. Kong, but it's fine because I like Godzilla having agency of his own. This was in an effort to make Apex look like the heroes for killing Godzilla so that humanity would be on their side. Ren was originally to make his connections to Ishiro Serizawa much more overt and was eventually going to reveal himself as the villain, killing Simmons just as Mechagodzilla comes online. This allows him to upload Ghidorah's consciousness into Mechagodzilla, something that Simmons originally wasn't aware he was planning to do. This was changed because they wanted to give Mechagodzilla more agency and personality on his own. They felt that it was more poetic to have both Simmons and Serizawa suffer at the hands of their own hubris and be taken out by their shared creation, rather than just having one guy turn out to be a bit more of an asshole than he already was. I personally think they made that change for the better. I think Mechagodzilla having a personality and agency of his own was the right way to go with that. Madison Russell was originally going to be struggling with PTSD and acting out of character, mirroring Mark from the beginning of King of the Monsters, and mistrusting Godzilla. I think that is a big mistake. Should have gone with that. That's much better and much more in character, and also builds on the world better. Bernie kills the assassin Hayworth before he can kill the kids towards the end of this movie. This is long after his initial bar fight with Hayworth, and it's implied that Hayworth killed Bernie's wife after she discovered Apex's plans. This was originally going to be a plotline that we spent much more time on, as we do in the novelization. Bernie's wife worked for Apex, she discovers their plans to build a Mechagodzilla and wipe out the Titans, and is eventually killed in a mysterious car crash as a result. Here the implication was going to be that Hayworth is the one who killed her. By having Bernie kill Hayworth to save the kids, this makes the ending line that is in the movie Godzilla vs. Kong have way more context, where Madison runs up to Mark saying Bernie is the one who saved them. In the movie it's not very accurate, but here it would make a lot more sense. Cave paintings in the Hollow Earth were originally going to reveal an ancient war involving Mothra, Rodan, Behemoth, and the other monsters, both big and small. The tone was changed to be more upbeat, and the film's narrative was streamlined to make the movie as dense as possible. I ran a poll on the channel a while ago when we were talking about this stuff for the first time, seeing what people thought, how they feel about the film, if they think it should have been darker, or if they agree that the movie should have been more fun and entertaining because that ultimately sells better and was better for the film's marketing. It also gives the franchise better legs to stand on moving forward. And interestingly, 54% of the viewers, perfect number, personally felt that the movie should have been much darker than it was. Interestingly though, this did not carry over to the depiction of the Hollow Earth like I thought it would. I asked if a more realistic, grounded, darker approach to the Hollow Earth is what people were hoping for in Godzilla vs. Kong, and 76% said they prefer a fantasy version like the one we got in Godzilla vs. Kong. They did not want a darker, grounded, grittier Hollow Earth. I think that is a very interesting discrepancy. I don't really know how both could have existed together. I think if you're gonna have the fun Hollow Earth, then you gotta have a fun movie. If you're gonna have a dark Hollow Earth, then a dark movie should go with it. That's just personally how I feel, but I don't know how you guys feel. Clearly, you guys have different feelings than I do. Finally, a lot of people blame Warner for making these changes. Warner Bros. Had no involvement in any of the decision making on this movie. They did not creatively produce Godzilla vs. Kong, they just distributed it. Legendary is the one who creatively produced it, as they have with all of the MonsterVerse films. The only two hands on the steering wheel as far as executives go is Legendary and Toho. As I mentioned, we do have an interview from Alexander Skarsgard where he discusses his original backstory, and so I'll run through what he talks about very briefly. He says that Lind was originally Monarch's chief cartographer / geologist, and we meet him on Skull Island in an unstable climate as he tries to map a course into the Hollow Earth. Monarch had originally dug a tunnel into Hollow Earth on Skull Island to plant the Orca Z down there to draw the Titans back to the depths of the Hollow Earth so that they would leave Earth alone following Ghidorah. Lynn's fiance is killed along with the rest of her crew as they try to go into the Hollow Earth and hit the gravity inversion for the first time. All Lynn hears is an explosion over the radio. A lot of these ideas are prevalent in the comic Kingdom Kong and also appear in the beginning of the Godzilla vs. Kong novelization. However, any references to the Orca Z are gone, and Lynn's fiance has of course been changed to his brother. Diving deep into the Hayworth subplot, I found a lot of stuff, including the fact that it's apparently a very controversial thing to talk about, as a lot of people deny that it was ever real. It was real, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that. Firstly, we have a deleted shot which was revealed of Hayworth meeting Lind in a bar at the beginning of the movie. This was also the bar where Ren and Simmons both met Lind for the first time. This was later replaced by Denham University. However, we have seen the shot of Ren and Lind meeting for reals, and now we have a picture of Hayworth in the bar placing him there at the same time. I also have an extended picture of that shot, which is a little harder to find, but here's the extended picture of it. And if you're wondering who this actor is, who is this Hayworth actor? Well, that's Alexander Skarsgard's stunt double, Daniel Nelson. Daniel Nelson was originally to play the stunt double, but later got upgraded to Hayworth because they loved him so much. Mark Fisher over on Twitter discovered a picture of Daniel Nelson with Shun Ogori and Damian Bashir, showing that again, these characters had a lot of interaction. And from what I can see here, this picture appears to be from an exterior, maybe earlier in the film, and it could be around the time when Ren is standing on top of the roof looking out as Godzilla shows up for the first time. It's kind of hard to say here because Walt Simmons doesn't wear this exact outfit. He wears a coat over it, so it's hard to see if that's the same outfit or not, but Ren looks generally the same. He's just missing his coat. Could also come later in the film. Point is, the three of them are placed together multiple times. I don't know why people would deny that subplot anyways. I know why people involved in the movie would, but I don't know why fans would. And it's not people involved with the movie saying it didn't happen. It's just the fans denying it. So I don't know why fans would be denying it. And if all of that wasn't enough, I found an interview with Daniel Nelson himself where he discusses all of this stuff. Daniel Nelson looks like a great guy. He looks super cool. He is a stunt actor and has been for a long time, and was asked specifically if he wanted to work with Alexander Skarsgard and be his stunt double. He had to work in Singapore and Australia at the exact same time, so he was flying back and forth between shoots. Day after day, he would go to Singapore or Australia depending on if he was needed for Godzilla vs. Kong or his other projects. He says later he rejoined on as a cast role, this character is Hayworth, for 4 weeks after doing all the stunt scenes, and this was the first big role he ever got. Unfortunately, it was entirely cut out of the film. That's a shame. I know that could have been great for his exposure. It could have been used for his reel. Hopefully he got some sort of compensation for that, and hopefully he's doing okay right now. I have some more information on Ren's original plotline, including an alternate ending of Godzilla vs. Kong. Digging deeper, we find out that Mechagodzilla was supposed to attack the control room in both cuts of the film, but the context was different. In the reshoots, it's made clear that Mark is the director of Monarch, which I actually didn't really think that was made clear. I still thought that Lance Reddick was the director of Monarch, but apparently, canonically, Mark Russell is the director of Monarch because Madison is referred to as Director Russell's daughter. That's said by Walt Simmons in the reshot sequence. Reddick's character was originally going to be the director, but due to his limited screen time now, they changed the line so that it's Director Russell's daughter, implying that Mark is actually the director and Lance Reddick works alongside him. Mechagodzilla was originally going to attack the control room after Hayworth had killed Simmons under different circumstances. Seems like maybe in this original cut it was going to be a bit more of a deliberate tack on Bernie, Josh, and Madison and less to do with Walt Simmons himself. Ren's plotline was also changed. Ren was originally going to stop earlier in the film to take a look at a picture of his father while Godzilla arrived in Pensacola. This was shot, but they wound up using a take where he doesn't pull the picture out. The original idea lines up with the novelization where Ren questions if his father's soul is still with Godzilla upon seeing him for the first time. This would have been an overt connection drawing Ren to the original Serizawa. However, as it stands in Godzilla vs. Kong, there's never any confirmation in the movie itself that the two are related, leading to fans having to put things together for themselves. That's apparently the way Adam Wingard wanted it. He wanted us to put it together like a puzzle piece rather than just being told this information. I think it's the wrong call, but I understand the thinking. It's a show don't tell kind of mentality. We have talked about this in the previous video, but while Team Godzilla was snooping around under the Ghidorah skull, as mentioned in the set visits, Ren was to meet with Hayworth about disposing of the body. I didn't know that Hayworth was originally involved in that scene, but that's quite interesting. Ren wanted Simmons gone because he was too egotistical and viewed himself as the superior partner. Additionally, Ren wanted the glory and fame that went with building Mechagodzilla rather than truly wanting the Titans gone, so he was was originally a lot less of an altruistic character and a lot more of just a downright bad guy. I think that the change in Ren's motivations is actually stronger. I personally prefer Ren to be something of a hero. The way that Godzilla vs. Kong plays in context of the movie, Ren is actually the good guy of that movie. He wants the Titans gone because he knows they're all dangerous to humanity. He wants all of them gone. Doesn't matter if it's Godzilla, Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, Kong, doesn't matter. He wants them gone because they pose a threat to humanity. Although that doesn't make him on nature's side, he is still a champion of humanity and in a way, something of a hero. It's just that he tragically uses Ghidorah's skull to try and achieve those ends, which results in Ghidorah taking over Mechagodzilla's body. I think that's a lot more interesting than if Ren is just some egotistical jerk who wants fame and glory. And then as for the ending of the movie, we now have 3 different alternate endings of Godzilla vs. Kong. In the original scripted ending, Ren was originally going to survive. Very clearly, he was supposed to explicitly survive the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. I don't know why they changed that. I have a feeling they changed it just because Adam Wingard was like, I don't really want to revisit that plot line, because Ren Serizawa is of course not showing up in the new movie, at least as far as we're aware. So I have a feeling it was just a matter of them being like, it's just, we don't need to bother with that stuff. He can just disappear. As it stands in the movie Godzilla vs. Kong, seems pretty clear that he dies. He gets electrocuted and then goes flat. So it seems like he dies. In the novelization for Godzilla vs. Kong, a lot of people misunderstand the ending. If you see anybody say that Ren got possessed with Ghidorah, they're not reading the ending of the novelization right. Go read it again for yourself. What actually happens in the ending of Godzilla vs. Kong's novelization is Ren's consciousness is in control of Mechagodzilla. He is the body of Mechagodzilla, and as he tries to get up, an outside presence, which is Ghidorah, clouds him, surrounds him with fear, and takes over the body, shutting him out. It's not Ren's body that is being taken over by Ghidorah. It's Mechagodzilla's body that's being taken over by Ghidorah. I've read the novelization 3 times. Ren is then electrocuted and incapacitated. Then, when Mechagodzilla punches through the wall, he punches straight through the chamber that housed Ghidorah's skull, destroying the skull. When Madison, Bernie, and Josh all go to it later, Ren's body is mysteriously missing, which means he was either taken away by somebody, destroyed by Mechagodzilla, or got up and walked away on his own and is still out there at large. That's my preferred interpretation, is that he's still alive and somewhere out there in the world, but who knows. To end the video here, I think an interesting idea to build upon that would be if he shows up in a future movie, he's got an eye that's all eye patched out because the electrocution or something hit his eye. I don't know. He fried his brain, so one of his eyes doesn't work. And he has scarring on his face because of the Ghidorah skull got badly damaged when Mechagodzilla punched a hole through the wall. Point is, he shows up and he looks a little more like the classic Serizawa from the 1954 film, and I think it'd be very interesting to give this character an absolute true redemption arc where he finally understands what his father's purpose was and why Godzilla is important, and then he can move on from there. Alright, that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you for sticking with me through this very long rundown of a lot of changes made to Godzilla vs. Kong. As I said, I do at some point plan on making a very long video where I take all of the information that I can find on things that were changed and shifted around for Godzilla vs. Kong and putting it in order so that I can release a video which goes through all of the original ideas that was supposed to be in this movie, because I find it fascinating. That'll be down the line though. Don't expect that anytime soon, because it takes a long time to do these kind of research videos. Alright, let's end it off here. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon. They do truly help to keep the channel running, and it means a lot to me to get your support. If you do want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. And I'm done for this one, guys. My throat's sore and I'm tired. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.